Hello. Hello, you. My friend Susie this morning sent me a YouTube video that I'll link for you down below called, I think, On the Reality and Perils of Being, or Opportunities and Perils of Being. And it's by Anthony DeMello, or Tony DeMello, as he's called. And it's kind of like a robot voice reading it, so, but still, the story that it opened with, I was just like, oh my God, like this is the exact same story that the book Untamed by Glennon Doyle opens with. And so I'll link to that book down below as well. And Susie has really enjoyed the book too, The Greatest Secret by the same woman, Rhonda Byrne, who wrote The Secret. And I guess Anthony or Tony DeMello shows up in that book. So the story though that this video opens with is that there is someone, or maybe it's the eagle herself, but someone places an eagle egg in a chicken nest, and the eagle is raised by chickens. So it spends its whole life just, only flapping its wings and going a few feet and completely staying on the ground because it's raised domesticated, like it's raised by chickens. And one day the eagle looks up in its old age and sees some majestic bird flying above and with this just grace and precision, and says to the chickens, "What is that?" And they're like, "Oh, that's the eagle, king of the skies. And so he belongs to the sky. We are chickens. We belong to the ground." And the eagle in the story, the way Tony DeMello tells it, apparently spends his whole life just down with the chickens. And so Tony DeMello told the story to say, like, it's about us. Well, so apparently this is an ancient story, and right, it's the same story really as the ugly duckling, who, there's some other themes that go on in that, but the point is, like, you are so much more majestic than you think you are. Or as Glennon Doyle would say, wasn't it supposed to be more beautiful than this? Like, aren't I something greater than this? Because the story she opens Untamed with, literally the exact same story. It's a true story though. She takes her kids to a zoo to see, and they've like trained a cheetah. And so the zookeeper comes out with this yellow lab, and Glennon Doyle's like, "Oh my God, tell me they're not going to tell my kids that this is a cheetah." And they're like, "This is so-and-so, the lab, and this lab is Tabitha, the cheetah's best friend. Anything the lab does, Tabitha does, because Tabitha was raised in captivity, and she thinks she's a lab." And so, go on this whole sort of ridiculous thing where Tabitha literally does just exactly what the lab does, which is to run around chasing a little pink bunny on this course that they've set up. And, here's this queen of the savannah thinking that she's a lab. But Glennon Doyle also doesn't buy it, because then at the end there's this part where they let her back out sort of in a much more open space. And Glennon Doyle's daughter, Tish, says to her, "Look, mommy, she became wild again." And the whole point though is that or at least for me, and I mean, Glennon Doyle goes here, and I think this is where Anthony DeMello was going as well. Society domesticates us. It makes us believe, and maybe humanhood as well in general, but definitely society and culture, and makes us think like that we're chickens or we're Labradors. And not that chickens and Labradors aren't majestic in their own way, but for the sake of these analogies, where really we're a goddamn cheetah, as Glennon says, or we are the eagle, king of the skies. And I'm just finding a lot of inspiration in that story this morning, so I wanted to share it with you, because there have to be so many analogies that we can find in our own lives of where we've been told, no, this is just how it is. This is just how shitty it is. And again, it's not that the magnificence of living as an eagle or a cheetah, that there's not hardships and challenges and it's not difficult. I think it's more so knowing that that's the degree of being and challenge and soaring or, galloping speed and power that we are capable of. And everyone, society especially, which very much is, around control. Like, this is funny. That's a word that's been coming up for me a lot. I'll talk about more, but around, keeping things controlled and keeping things in order, would really like us to believe that we are chickens and that we are Labradors because it makes us easy to control. And you're a goddamn cheetah or you're an eagle. And there is so much more that you are capable of than everyone would like you to believe, because when you're living in that full sovereignty and that full power, you're a lot harder to control. You're a lot harder to control. And if you're asking yourself, wasn't it supposed to be more beautiful than this? Now, again, I didn't say easier. I said more beautiful, more magnificent. The answer is yes. And probably the hardest part, though, is breaking free, breaking out of that cage, becoming untamed. That's why that book is named that. So I'd love to hear what you think about this. And I hope that I'll link down to that video down below, as well as the book Untamed, which has clearly changed my life. I've been dreaming about Glennon Doyle like every night too. So it is more beautiful than this. And it just takes you realizing that you are the queen of the savannah, the king of the skies, not this domesticated, controlled, easily trained and hypnotized and kept caged being that the powers that be, that seem to be outside of ourselves, would like us to believe. So I look forward to hearing your thoughts.